So we have HI-EMA in the house. Welcome, welcome. It's the first time officially. I can't believe it that they're here. So Haoli and Mokuahi. So I'm just gonna pass it to you guys to introduce yourselves and HI-EMA as you wish, and HHARP, anything you want to share, the floor is yours.
Great. Well, hello, I'm Evan Mokwahi. We go by Mokwahi. I actually got pulled into a breakout room with Zach, and then we ended up kind of going over some of the slides, and it was great. I know we're pressed for time, so excited to go through the slides again, and then excited to field some questions, make some, and just start making some headway into what it is that we do. So I'm going to share this. Hopefully it works, because I was having sharing issues, and Dr. Miku, I actually emailed you in case this PDF, in case it's not working on my end. But can everyone see that?
Yep, I think it's just loading. Yep, we got you.
Okay, great. Well, terrific. So here with my colleague, Kaoli. She keeps things running for us. And again, we're from Hawaii Emergency Management Agency. HI-EMA is a state agency, which is a part of the state DoD. Where I work in HI-EMA is within community outreach under John Vieira, and my program specifically is a program called HHARPS. So what is HHARPS? HHARPS, the acronym Hawaii Hazards Awareness and Resilience Program. Now, to take it back of what from HHARPS and to go back to a HI-EMA side, and we'll talk more about HHARPS, is these are the 4 pillars that we look at HI-EMA, right? And this is the wheel, right? This is the when disasters are evolving and even before, right? My biggest thing and my job is to focus on preparedness, right? And so we'll talk about some numbers today. A certain number 12, for those of you who've already heard it, you guys know the answer already, so terrific. But preparedness, building the capacity and the capability to manage impacts, whatever impact that is, right? And the response. So as we prepare communities to have communities have a community emergency action plan, I think it's great that people are certified. Those are great. Those individuals, things are great. But to be able to focus on the community and the community moves as a whole, I think it was mentioned earlier, right? Like, I know people know how to move, and so we really get to see that when we hear response, right? So for those of us who grew up in Hawaii, you guys know, knock on the door of your neighbors and you have it, right? We've always had that open door thing, and so how do we make that bigger? And how do we direct and move the minds of preparedness? And that's what we do in community outreach. Okay, so then recovery. Now, I know a lot of people who helped out in disasters, not only in Hawaii, like Lahaina, but all over. They get volunteer burnout, right? And a lot of it is because they are managing an emergency on the fly, because there is not a plan in place. And so again, with what we do, community emergency action plans will help mitigate some of those stresses. And then, of course, mitigation, right? Reducing or eliminating the impact from potential hazards, which is huge and big. So back to HHARP. What is HHARP? HHARP is a state-supported, and it is a community-led, completely community-led resilience framework. We're not the government coming in telling, this is how you do X, Y, and Z. No, you're the community. What do you need? What do you want to see? Where are your hazards? What are your risks? So HHARP helps communities to understand our local hazards. We prepare households and residents. And again, we'll look at that number and what that looks like. Identifying risks and vulnerabilities. And of course, as I've said it now 5 times, developing community emergency action plans. All those things are great. But one thing that I'm running into is a lot of our community members who are working in this capacity are kupuna, which is amazing, which is great. However, the one thing that I told Dr. Miku, and the one thing that I spoke with Chairman Waters today, And I'm so excited to be here is to talk about sustaining that program over time. And it's not a kupuna thing, right? It's a us thing, right? And something that we say here all the time, it's a kako effort, not a kupuna effort, right? So it's about us picking up that next mantle. So I'm happy that you guys are out here. So some of the hazards and natural hazards that reoccur for us here, of course, tsunamis, which can happen anytime. Hurricanes and tropical storms happen. They could be bad, but we know they're seasonal. Flooding, earthquakes, volcanic hazards, if you're obviously from Hawaii Island, Mokuokeawe, and of course, wildfires. So the core issue here. So these are the common gaps in preparedness that I've identified that we've seen, right? So information without follow through. Lots of information out there, lots of fairs. Awesome. It's great. But, you know, when the administrator came in here and our boss, John Vieira, came on board, it was all about follow through because they identified there is no follow through. So what's really happening? Individual focus, right? CERT is great, but it's not a community coordination. And so that's what my job is. And then there's no sustained structure after that outreach. And that's what's sustaining the program after we build a plan with the community and support. That's what we come in and do after. Now that number 12%, that number 12% is the number of households that are prepared right now to be 2 weeks ready. If the port shut down, right? If we got hit by something right now, 12% of our state of communities across or of households across the Aina, the Pai-Aina is prepared, right? And so you can ask yourself, you know, just in the quietness of your mind, am I one of those people who are 12%, you know, ready, or am I on the outskirts? And if I'm not, great. But if I am, also great, because now we can do something about it. So how HHARP works is like this. So these 6 lists are 6 modules that we stand by with our county partners and help communities get through. So it starts with getting started, right? Developing teams, understanding roles, moving to hazard awareness and understanding what hazards face Hawaii, and then taking it more personal, what hazards face my community. Right? Personal preparedness, talking about that 12% number. Risk assessment, disaster planning, that's where that community emergency action plan comes into play. And then, of course, as we've talked about, sustaining the program, keeping it alive and making it, you know, practicing workshops, drills, really practicing preparedness, right? Preparedness is a verb, right? It's something that is always active. It's not just, yeah, preparedness. It's not a trendy word. It's a verb. It's an action, right? And so that's what we help communities do. Again, each module builds on the previous. We have a template that we can help give to communities that will help them draft up a plan. We have software on our side that we can put it into, and we'll see where that community is, and we can get them. We can say, hey, you're ready, or here's the gaps. Let's support you in fulfilling those gaps, right? We're the government telling communities, don't rely on the government, because when it comes down to it, it's going to be inundation, right? And you're going to have to look at your neighbors, right? So again, we've kind of touched on this a little bit. So what makes HHARP different? It's not just building awareness, right? It's building systems. It's community driven. It's not an individual thing. Cross-sector participation. So I just had a meeting with Chairman Tommy Waters, and we've talked with DEM. Obviously, we work with counties across the Pai-Aina. Validation and recognition. Hey, you guys are an HHARP community. What does that open up once you're an HHARP community, right? That we help with that mitigation if, God forbid, something happens. Right, we're able to reach into state monies. We're able to be like, no, we've worked together, and let's make this plan come true. And then long-term sustainability. Again, we've talked about that. So resilient communities. Why is this important? One, it can adapt, survive, and thrive in the face of adversity. We know it's coming. We have a plan. We're not we're not reacting out of panic. We're just putting our plan into action now. Communities have assessed the community's vulnerability to natural disasters. Communities have strengthened local capacities to cope with emergencies. And then the big thing too, right, is recovering quickly. And then, of course, again, having plans in place that respond immediately to a disaster. We're not looking to the government because the government is not coming to help you. They're going, sure, eventually, right? But what are those needs immediately? This is why this program is so important. Again, it's community driven. We lead the implementation. Local facilitators are those local community leaders. Who's a community leader? Anybody living in a community. The residents know best, right? We're the state. I'm not going into Y&I to tell you, this is how best to run. You know your community best. And then state and county partners support and validate through the state. NGOs like Vibrant Hawaii, American Red Cross, right? All those things, food bank, and of course, DEM. So why HHARP matters is because this, right? So disasters we know are increasing. We know that the Pacific Rim is an active place. So we have frequency. So we can count on something happening. It's not a matter of if, it's just when. Cost, right? What does that do to not just the cost of living here, right? But everything's going to jump. We know that disruption is going to happen. Looking at the social disruption, if we're not prepared, what does that look like? Imagine we don't have food storage as a state to supply everybody. We have 1 million people on our HI-EMA alone, right? And then you think about the counties all across, there's not enough food storage, right? To feed everybody. So what is that social disruption going to look like, right? That chaos. And it doesn't mean to be fear-mongering, but it's a scary thought, right? So what do we do? And so communities, we need structure, we need preparation, and then sustained capability. All things that HHARP helps to build. So that's my last slide. I'll open it up. Thank you guys for allowing me to present a short presentation. And anyone have any questions?
I have a question. Would you be able to come and present at our neighborhood board?
What neighborhood is that?
Number 16, Clee Valley.
Not that I would say no, but I was just curious. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That and the Clee Coalition.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Would love to. Let's get offline and talk more about it. But yeah, I had a meeting. I've been kind of knocking on my boss's door about neighborhood boards. It was also brought up today. So yeah, absolutely.
What we can do is, if it's okay with you, we'll send out the slides for folks, if that's all right. And then we recorded the presentation as well. And then if you want to put your info in the chat, but also if it's okay, I'll send out your information as well, so that those that maybe watch this later can reach out to you. But then also, I think our goal is, as we get our hubs signed up, when they're ready, we can do these one-to-one introductions and support them and taking it on. I was curious, I think the amazing thing about the program, right, is it really is systematically supporting community resilience and creating these communities. Can you talk about like how, how the learning curve is for folks, and that might have to be Howley more, but the different groups that have been taking on the trainings?
Sure. I mean, I can speak on some of that. So HHARP, the modules are designed for anybody to, I want to help in my community and I don't know where to start. Well, the modules that have been designed is to take you from zero to completion, right? You don't have to have a background in that. Now, as far as the communities that I've been working with, we have legacy HHARPs, right? So now this is HHARP 2.0. Before it was just HARP. Some of those communities, Kailua, Wahiwa, Hawaii Kai, Aina Haina, what's happened is this is what happens with volunteers, right? People move away, people pass on, people burn out, people, now I was a 50-year-old grandpa and I'm a 60-year-old grandpa and I've got 3 grandkids and I'd rather spend which is all natural. So what I'm doing with them is I have their community emergency action plans that they have submitted in the past. We're putting it through our software. There's some things that they haven't done before, like each module has worksheets. These worksheets, as you complete them, will help you create a community emergency action plan. So they haven't had this before. So even though they're legacies and they have experience, everybody is, for the most part, at the same playing field, right? And so for the new community who's never had it, it's not a far off, it's not a stretch. Everything is built to be understandable, digestible. And, I will say, I've heard my boss talk about that, the fact that it's taken in the past up to 2 years to become HHARP certified. Imagine that you're volunteering to help your community and it's taking you 2 years to develop an action plan. This can be done as aggressively as a community wants, right? But if we say you have 1 meeting a month, there's 6 modules, or we want to hit 5 to get that's 5 months, 5 months to a year. We've shrank the time by half. It's more detailed and it's a better system and a better plan.
I know other people probably have questions. If you guys do have questions, please put in the chat. We have a couple more minutes left. I was the one that put you into the breakout rooms because we were in different breakout rooms, and I was like, "Oh, he's going to be in the waiting room all by himself." I knew you wanted to talk to the youth, so I was like,
so
"Oh,
funny.
Stick him in there."
It's so funny because we went over because I was like, "Oh, I'm late," because I was at another meeting. I was like, so this is fine because I didn't have to rush out. So good.
Well, the reason I did put you in with the youth, right, is because that's what we had been talking about, is like, that's a huge gap, right? Is how do we engage next generation? We have quite a few that have been, that are here in our room that come to these calls. So I guess that's another question. We had Nancy. Oh, Nancy's still here. She does teen CERT programming, but it's through the like extension system in Maui. And so I guess I'm curious if I guess how can HHARP also be, how can we be more inclusive of next generation for HHARP, or like that was something we talked about in our CERT room actually. But any thoughts on that, or seeds to start planting?
That's a great question. So we are working as Community Outreach One we're building podcasts, and so in the breakout room I was at, we talked about picking up the mantle, right, so to speak. And so I said it, like, nobody wants to read a 57-page, like, just sit here and just digest plans like that. That's not, so as the old guard's faded, as HI-EMA is going through a rebranding, as I've worked with our PIO and our external affairs officer, Kiele, taking our modules for the communities who aren't, right? Maybe you're just not, and you jump on social media and taking our modules and creating reels, right? And talking about preparedness. Preparedness in Hawaii needs to be something that is on the forefront of our mind, and it's a part of conversation. When it's a part of conversation, things change, things move. So the meeting I had today with Chairman Waters and his team, we discussed this slide, and we discussed how do we make that impact, right? And so youth town halls, I think, are great, right? Because once we get youth town halls, and I think youth can move things so quickly, it becomes legislation, right? And when it becomes legislation, things change. I really believe that things can change, but preparedness needs to be law, especially here in Hawaii. So podcast, closing the gap on social media, YouTube's. I'm going to work with John Bravender over at NOAA to talk about some of these issues and creating clips, and and then of course youth town halls. I think those things, and what you're doing is awesome. It's great, and so I think we all put our heads together. We can have that that next generation come, because all those guys are asking for it. HI-EMA guys, Hawaii Kai, he wears 5 different hats, and he's 73 years old, and God bless him, but like he's also looking for the next in line, right? And so they're all asking for it, and so I think that's how we do it.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Makai. I think there's definitely more conversations to come. I'm glad that you got connected to the Youth Next Gen group so that maybe we can start to have those conversations with them too, and maybe get some direct feedback. And then Nancy too will keep following up these, because I think it's a huge need, and the Hub Learning community, because we have such a strong built-in space of our next gen, I think we're in a great position to try to help support that. So I know this is the very end. Any like burning final questions, we'll make sure you guys get the contact and all the follow-up. And for some of you guys that have your working groups, you're encouraged to meet between now and next time and move along any items that you came up with. We're going to do that for our CERT group this time for sure. So yeah, thank you, Heidi. Yeah, and any final things or anything else from Hauli, who's also in the room here?
Thank you, Dr. Miku, for having us today and Mokuahi presenting. And we look forward in moving the HR program more into our communities and statewide as well. Nice to see you all.
Okay,
I
okay, thank you. Oh, Amanda?
Hi, I have some final thoughts. I'm really interested in moving forward with legislation, building bills, building resolutions, introducing them to the different neighborhood boards, different coalitions, different nonprofit organizations, and alliances that actually care about emergency preparedness. So hit me up for that kind of stuff, because I'm all about organizing the community to build legislation and look for funds.
Amazing.
Yeah, I love that. You kind of cut out at the end. Are you asking for direction?
No, I already know how to do all that, but I want to work as a collaboration coalition. And again, I'm excited about this because it's just the beginning. But yeah, for legislation, resolutions, crafting bills, and who to push it through at the state legislature, I'm all about that.
I love it, man. I love it. When Dr. Miku posts my info on here, and Doctor, please feel free. I know you have my cell in the signature. Put it out there also. Please reach out to me. I love that. We want to support you also, Amanda, and Hui up with you.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining again. I guess this is our first one for the new year. And we've got that, we've got Lunar New Year still on the horizon. I'm feeling the red fire horse energy coming in. I'm telling everybody, put your roots down deep so that we can receive that yang energy and do some awesome work this year. So thanks, everybody. Honu, any final things to share or close?
Mahalo nui, mahalo piha, mahalo mokuahi for that presentation. Super awesome to hear from you speak and hear how HI-EMA is strengthening community, and then I don't know how to shifting the tables and recognizing that. It's really great to hear that from HI-EMA. I mean, I've been but fabulous presentation. Mahalo for being here. And everybody enjoy the rest of your new year. Mahalo.
All right, everybody. Thank you all so much. Take care, and we'll see you again next month, February 3rd, Thursdays at 3. Being consistent. Thursdays at 3.
Mahalo and aloha.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Aloha.
Aloha.